Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Up Your Brave live stream series. I'm your host, Natalie Cutler-Welsh, speaker, author, impact entrepreneur, and mother of 3 gorgeous children who are currently upstairs, hopefully doing their home learning. So I hope you guys are having a great time today. And we are aiming to give you a couple of tips, maybe some stories and some insights about how you can stay well during times of challenge. Now, we're certainly facing a pretty massive time of challenge right now for the Kiwis. I think we're into week 4 of lockdown as such. And I think that for some people, it's going to be a really hard time. For some people, it'll be quite a lovely time, I imagine. So we're going to dive into that. But whether it's COVID or whether it's life in general, I'm so excited to introduce my guests who have some amazing tips for you. So first of all, we have Brad Dixon, located in Tauranga. He's actually my sister's running coach. So there you go. With a background in physio, he has a theory of expensive wellness. Hello, Brad. Welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Very good to have you here. We also are going to chat with Shelley Gawith, who's located in Wellington. I love how we're connecting everyone from all over the show. Now, Shelley's a functional nutritionist, an international speaker, and she normally has a booked out clinic. Well, now in Wellington at the moment, I think she can't have the clients coming to the door, but maybe soon. Hey, Shelley, good to see you.
Thank you, Nat. Thanks for having us.
No worries. And then we have, of course, Josie from Me Time with Josie. What I love about Josie is, first of all, I love her accent. So you're going to love that too. But Josie has so many great things that people can do. We know we need to have more me time. We know that intellectually, but it's like, how do we actually make that happen? So Josie's going to share that kind of stuff with us today. Hi, Josie.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me here.
Yay. Love that accent. Okay, so let's go to Brad first. So Brad, I would love it if you could share with us a little bit more of your backstory in terms of wellness, and then dive into your first tip.
Cool. Well, thank you very much. I think my journey really started about 7 or 8 years ago when I think figured it out that everything's connected. So as a physiotherapist, you learn a lot about the body. And then I think when my uncle was going through his cancer battle, I realized that the mind, body, and soul mesh together and exist as one. And so after figuring that out a little bit more, I then realized that actually we're also connected with each other and how we act towards each other and the vibes that we put out and what we get back. And then on a bigger scale, I've realized that that we're all connected with the planet and everything within it. So I think there was just a real big journey there about, from a physiotherapy point of view, moving out and realizing that wellness is more than just tips to make ourselves well and feel better. It's actually about making sure that our wellness and our habits are having a positive effect on our families, our communities, and ultimately our planet. And so in that regard, it really helped me, give me a little bit more purpose, micro and macro, in terms of what we do on a daily basis to affect the greater good. And I think it gave me more purpose and more joy in trying to figure out how we can create habits on a daily basis to make ourselves, our communities, our families, and the planet a better place to live for all.
Great.
Yeah, so moving on to, I think that my first tip for everybody is pretty simple, and it's probably what I am known for the most, and that is eating nutritious, whole, plant-based food. So I think if you can do that, without getting too fiddly, just trying to really maximize the amount of fruit, vegetables, legumes, seeds, nuts, and really try to maximize the amount of nutrition you get per calorie in your diet. So during lockdown, we have to plan our meals a lot more. We have to plan what we bring into the house because we can only get out once or twice a week to the supermarket. So this is a really good opportunity to maximize the nutrition per bite. So it's about going out, getting stuff that's not going to create temptation. So making sure we're getting good food, plant-based, whole food, and surrounding our environment with that, so that when we go to make meals and when we go to get snacks, which we do a lot, we're moving towards the fridge maybe a little bit more than we should be because we don't have as much to distract ourselves. Making sure that we're surrounding ourselves with fantastic food options to really nourish ourselves, really nourish our bodies, and have a great impact not only on ourselves but the planet. So that would be my first tip, making sure that we really are honing in on whole food, plant-based nutrition to make ourselves as well, and make our immune systems robust, and make ourselves think more clearly. Eating plants is just it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I know the impact of food is huge. Go ahead, Josie.
So basically you're saying don't shop for your treats while in the supermarket, right? So you don't feel tempted later.
Yeah, if possible. I mean, a little treat now and then is fine, but I think don't go and load up with chips and chocolate and licorice and stuff, because you're just going to eat it. So maybe just make sure you plan and base your eating around really good whole plant-based food, and have a few little treats here and there, but just not masses of it. Otherwise, you're going to demolish that in 1 or 2 days, aren't you? So plan the shop well, and base it around good plant-based foods.
Yes.
Sorry, Nat. You go.
It's so crucial. Exactly. I always talk a lot about, what are you feeding yourself? And yeah, what's on your plate is a massive part of it. Hey, shout out to, we've got Shelley Blossom joining us. Anyone else that's joining us here on the live stream, go ahead and comment. Let us know geographically where you're tuning in from. We would love to see where you're coming from. And also you can go ahead and make a comment with a question that I can put to the panel now if you're here, or if you're watching the live stream. We can come back later. We can answer your question as well. So very excited to have some audience interaction. All right, Shelley, we're going to go to you for a little bit more of a little bit of backstory on you. I know you've got a fascinating story. If we had an hour, I would love to share it all, but give us the highlights and tip number 1.
So definitely just the highlights. I was an investment banker. I trained to be a chartered accountant, and I was a finance manager working for an investment bank in Sydney. When my health absolutely deteriorated, I'd ignored every symptom in my body. Like, it didn't just happen overnight, although it felt like it did just happen overnight, but I had serious heavy metal toxicity, mold toxicity, an underactive thyroid, adrenals, a brain, endometriosis, autoimmune thyroid conditions, Hashimoto's, you name it, and I had it, but I just wanted to keep working. So while I was at the investment bank, I just worked and worked and worked until I literally drove myself into the ground, where my doctor said to me, I got so sick I couldn't get out of bed, I'd lost my cognitive function, I had lost everything basically, and my doctor said, we need to hospitalize you, otherwise you're going to die. So at that point I was like, okay, well, I've got nothing. There's no point trying for this career anymore, like jumping the corporate ladder, doing everything that I'd been doing. And so I knew that if I went to hospital, even though I knew nothing about diet, I knew nothing about nutrition, I over-exercised, and which I thought was stress relief, but I was just putting more stress on my body. I knew that going to hospital, the food that they would feed me would probably kill me. So long story short, my parents took me back home to New Zealand, and my mum became my full-time carer for the next 2 years. Once again, I saw every specialist, everybody. Being an investment banker, you throw money at a condition. So I threw money at the top experts. I threw money at anything and everything that I could possibly do to get myself better, because my dream was not to die. It was actually to get married, have children, have a successful career. And I was too young to give that up. So I threw money at everything, and I wasn't really getting results. I needed to be carried by my dad to the bathroom. I would sleep for 23 and a half hours a day. My parents would wake me for meals, and I was getting sicker because my sister, who's an ICU nurse, was like, somebody can't sleep all day without moving their body. So that was creating all these other problems. So about 10 months into it, my doctor in Wellington said, have you even thought, he gave me Nora Gagauj's book to give to my mum, because it was like a textbook for me at the time, like I couldn't even read anymore. And so she was like, okay, my mum was like, let's give this food thing a go. Let's try bone broth.
And I love this bread.
Fermented foods. And so that's all we did at that time. That was all we knew to do. And so with that, I could now stay awake for 2 hours. So from that little point, I realized the power in food, and I realized the power in nutrition. And so from that, I then was like, I'm going to get myself better. I've thrown money at all these other professionals that haven't been able to. I picked up things along the way, and I'm not trying to say that it wasn't helpful. It was useful, but it wasn't. I was still in bed. It wasn't getting me back my life, and it wasn't getting me back my results. So that's when I started studying. I found functional nutrition. I found it in the States, and I knew that I needed functional labs, which just means I didn't want to know whether I was sick or not, which is what the doctors were measuring. I wanted to know what was happening with my gut bacteria. I wanted to know if I had parasites, if I had fungus, if I had mold, if I had yeast. I wanted to know like the details of everything, that my body was broken. And so I wanted to know why it was broken and how to fix it all. And so that's what I did. I started with one system at a time in our bodies, in my body, correcting it, and working out why it had broken and why it wasn't working and what support it needed, and food-wise, and if I was eating foods that were causing me inflammation and I was sensitive to. So I went through every single layer. Being the investment banker, I love a good process and a good procedure. So I just treated myself like a good spreadsheet, and I nutted down each layer, what was out of balance and what wasn't working and how I needed to fix it. So I never expected, like I thought that I'd go back into investment banking. Like I never wanted to leave the corporate world, and I wouldn't have left it if it wasn't for my health. But the whole time I was sick for those 2 years, I thought to myself, if I can just help one person, this whole journey has been worth it. So towards the end, as I was getting better and I was studying and getting more into my study and nutrition and stuff, I had one person that was really sick, a mum of 2 kids. And so she said, look, I don't really care how qualified you are or not qualified, just get me better. Like I need to be able to like look after my family again. And so I said, look, I don't really know if I can help you. Like I helped myself, but maybe that was just a fluke, and I've done this study, but I'll give it a go. And from that one person turned into the next and turned into the next, which turned into a fully very successful business where I've had the honor and the privilege of being able to help so many more people so that they never end up where I ended up. So that's the quick health story. My number one.
That's an extended intro, but I love it. I didn't want to stop you because it's such an important part of what you do and why you're doing it. But yeah, let's get into the tip.
The number one tip is Nat gave you a spoiler in terms of, she said about sipping on water through a straw. But what I see in clinic, and there's only been about, of all the hundreds of people that I've seen, there's only about 2 people that are actually drinking the right amount of water for their bodies. And so being the investment banker, we love a good formula. So the quickest way to work out baseline how much you need water-wise for your body, and it's really important right now with boosting your immune system, flushing through viruses, just the winter flu, to get your hydration up. And so a lot of people think that caffeine, like coffee and tea, are actually helping you get hydrated. This is not part of the formula. So your baseline formula is your body weight divided by 30, plus adding back in for any caffeinated drinks, wine you're drinking, any fizzy drinks you're drinking. And if you're exercising, you also need to add back in the amount that you're sweating out. So that's the quick, easy formula. But you want to be, 2 things with your water is the quality of the water as well, but you want to be sipping it. Not a lot of us get taught that there's a technique to how we drink our water. But see, there Nat is. She's the perfect poster child for it. There we go. So that's my tip.
Okay, but tell us why the sipping is so important, because this is key.
I didn't want to tell that. Okay, so the thing in our bodies is when we gulp our water, and I was a huge gulper because I was like all about efficiency, the only thing we're doing is flushing it straight through our bodies. Because what we're actually trying to hydrate is our tiny little cells in our bodies. Our bodies are just made up of these small cells. So when you gulp your water, lots of people say to me, oh, but I need to go to the toilet like half an hour later or an hour later. Yeah, of course you do, because your poor kidneys and your liver are working overtime to flush that out, to detoxify. Like that's what your kidneys and liver are. They're filters. So they filter out that water. So you're putting pressure and inflammation on 2 crucial organs. So to actually get hydrated, you need to be sipping your water, no gulping.
Love it. Okay, so good. And there you go. So ever since Shelley told me that, I started using a straw. So there you go. Very simple, but so crucial. Okay, we're going to go to Josie. Josie, give us a quicker intro than Shelley. No, give us a little bit of intro on you and one of your first tips. That would be great.
I am just amazed about the things that I'm learning. We are what we eat, and sipping water through a straw. That explains why I pee so much at night. Okay, a quick intro about me. I am originally from Brazil and I'm mother of 2. I'm a teacher and I have a busy life because I want to talk to people about and empower moms about me time and how important it is. Reason why, when I became a mom, I wanted to be a superwoman. I wanted to show that I had all together. I always have my makeup done and looking exhausted. I didn't rest when my baby rested. I was super busy cleaning my house, making sure it was spotless, baking to be that perfect mom that you see on Pinterest or in movies. That's unrealistic. So that's a little bit about me. And that goes into my tip number 1, rest. Take time to recharge. I know that can be busy when you're in quarantine or quarantine, isolation with 2 or 3 kids at home. But I think making a schedule is important. And your children also wants to have me time. And when they get that me time, grab it with your 2 hands and have your me time too. So let's say the reward for the day for your child is to watch a movie that they have been wanting or to play a game. My kids, for example, like to draw. So it's following an instruction in how to draw on their pads and they're drawing on a book. So that when they are doing that, go to your room, make yourself that nice tea, grab yourself that nice drink that you have been wanting with your straw so you can sip it, and go rest. Okay, go watch that something that you have been wanting to watch. It doesn't need to wait until your kids are in bed. Okay, have little me times throughout of the day. That would be my number 1 tip.
And such a relevant tip, particularly now, those of us that are in lockdown and we have other people in our face and in our space. It is so important to make sure that we have our own me time. And particularly, I know my friends that are more introverted, they found it really hard because there's 24/7, there's people around them, and it's very, very draining. But I think everybody does need me time. Those of you that know me from back in the day, I originally started as a parenting author and podcaster. Our book, of course, is called If Only They Told Me. And it's interesting looking back at this, Josie, because I definitely was in that place of lack at this time. I was like, oh, I can't even go to the toilet by myself. That kind of motherhood martyrdom mode, what I like to call it now. And I feel like a lot of it is because I felt like I just didn't have any me time. But the problem was you have to make it happen. You can't just expect someone to say, like, now is your me time. So very, very important, crucial tip. So shout out to the people that are joining us. We've got Diane from Auckland, Trish Martin from Auckland. Mark Ward is asking, Shelley, small amount of salt or sugar-free electrolytes in water?
Mark, I'm glad you said sugar-free. So your biggest electrolyte is sodium, so salt in the first place. So if you want to do it at home, which is the easiest at the moment, adding some salt, lemon, or lime to your water is a great electrolyte mix in the first place. But not everyone always needs electrolytes. So you can actually have too much sodium in your body. So I always teach simple tests that you can test at home, or you can get a blood test to check your electrolyte levels before you start adding anything to your water. Another quick, easy one is coconut water is a good electrolyte that you can use too, rather than having to buy electrolyte mixes.
Nice. So add that to your grocery list if you're doing online shopping. All right, we're going to go to Brad for tip number 2. And later on today, you guys, I'm going to try something new where I'm going to get the guests to tell me what's cool about you. So they're going to tell us one thing that's cool about them. So make sure I don't forget. This is a new thing I'm doing. Okay, Brad, tip number 2.
Yeah, I think tip number 2 is a bit about proactivity. So making sure that first thing in the morning, but especially that first 60 minutes, that you stay away from social media. You stay away from screens. So get up and have some time with yourself. Now, this can take on many forms, and I talk to my athletes about this a lot. Maybe looking at some sort of mobility or strength program where you may be doing some yoga or some meditation, just to really hone in on yourself and what's important for the day. A little bit of exercise, going out for a walk or a jog or a swim, being active. But I think it's really important for that first 60 minutes of the day, make sure that you own it, that you're proactive and that you're not into a reactive mindset. As soon as you turn your screen on or get engaged with social media, you're immediately giving permission for others to set the agenda. And that's not healthy. I think it's really important that we all make sure that we are comfortable within ourselves and that we set aside that first precious hour to really make sure that we set up the day so that we can move forward towards our purpose and towards what we want to achieve. So that would be my second tip after eating lots of delicious plants, would be to make sure that that first 60 minutes you stay away from screens and you stay away from social media, and you just work out some sort of routine, some sort of enhancing routine that works really well for you, made up of mobility, a little bit of strength, some movement, some meditation, some journaling, some reading, but just something with you. So yeah, that would be my second tip.
I love it. And I love that you've covered, when I talk about what are you feeding yourself, literally you already talked about what are we feeding ourselves into our mouth, but this is what are you feeding yourself into your mind. And again, like the me time, we know intellectually that we shouldn't reach for the social media straight up. But honestly, if I had everyone raise their hand, hey, does anyone, do 60 minutes without social media or tech when they first wake up? I bet you very few people would have their hand up. So it's such a good reminder. And it literally is, it's like this in the morning. It's like, no, like don't do it, right? So it is such a good tip. And I know at the end of the day, it's probably, you possibly have the same advice for the other end of the day. Nighttime.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is very cool. Okay. Hey, Shelley, before we go to you, I'm going to jump in with one of my tips. So you guys know that I do love having fun. And when I, back in the day, so I went from being a parenting author to working with women in business. And my tagline literally used to be making social media and networking easy, fun, and fabulous. So fun has always kind of been part of my brand. So here's my tip. I don't do social media anymore, by the way, people. I help people get on stage and visibility and resilience in their business. But anyway, my tip is to have more fun and be more fun. And because when we're having fun, we're actually present. And when we're present, we're not worrying about what could happen. That's anxiety. And we're not lamenting about what did happen, etc. No, we're not being stuck in the past. So even during lockdown time, we've played more family board games than before. My husband the other night at dinner initiated a what are you all grateful for kind of round the table thingy, which I was like, you go, guy. And I have started playing Lego with my children. It's like, if you know me, I do not play Lego. Like I'll maybe help like sort it out while they play it into colors and stuff, tidy it away. But I actually have been playing, like yesterday we made a cruise ship, Jonah and I together, like we did a collab. And it was so fun. I'm like, who knew Lego could be so fun? So there you go. My tip is really, what can you do to actually have more fun, but also be more fun? Because if you're more fun, then more people are going to want to be around you. I mean, a lot of people go like, Nat, I want to work with you because you're so much fun. I'm like, yeah. And everybody that I work with, I literally become friends with them because they're so cool and they're so fun as well. I think fun is a key element to being present. And also the goal, of course, of this live stream is to raise resilience and collectively help people to be more happy and healthy on a global level. And I think fun is a secret ingredient. So there you go. So my question to you guys, if you want to comment below, if you're watching us live or on the replay, what have you done this week that is fun for you? And everyone's version of fun is different for sure. But what have you done this week that is fun for you? Let's hear it. Angela Smith, thank you for joining us. She's like really excited to try the straw tip. Okay, Shelley, let's go to you for tip number 2.
Well, I was a little bit torn with tip number 2, but I will go with, it can be hard to work out. Like a lot of clients come to me, and when I get them to do their food journal, they'll eat their breakfast, then they're snacking, then they're eating lunch, then they're snacking, then they're eating dinner. But that causes a lot of inflammation on the body. Because while from start
to cavities for kids if they're snackers.
Well, that too, cavities too, and probably a lot of weight gain because they're overeating quite often. But while from start to finish, it can take between 17 to 24 hours for your poo to come through your body from eating to
we're going there.
Out. What actually happens in the first part of the digestive system is for the very first beginning part, takes 5 to 6 hours to begin the beginning of the digestive process. So as mums, a lot of you will understand, or any mums out there that do the washing, you do not open a front loader washing machine halfway through the cycle. Like you would break the washing machine. Like that is just a no-go. Like no mum lets their child do that ever. So why do we think that we would do that with the beginning of our digestive system? It's like the front loader. Think of our bodies like the front loader. So you want to be waiting a minimum of 5 to 6 hours between meals before going to eat. My generation grew up on that gym generation where it's like you go to the gym, you snack all the time, 8 meals, like small meals a day is great. It's not, because it's putting pressure and inflammation on your body. So what we need to do, like what Brad talked about, is you need your macronutrients, which is your proteins, your fats, and your veggies, right for your body so that you can stay full for that 6-hour interval. Yes, occasionally have a snack because you're out with your family, you're having fun, you want to, but that's an occasional thing. That's not going to totally inflame you and derail you, but you do need to be working out, planning, like Brad said, but making sure you've got that 5 to 6 hour gap between meals. That is key, and making sure that you're full, you feel satisfied, you feel nourished for that time. So it's not depriving you, it's not starving you, but working out your macronutrients so that you stay full, you stay satisfied, you have great brain function, you have great energy, but between your meals. So that's the structure. You can go more if you want, but you definitely need a minimum of 5 to 6 hours because that's how we're physiologically designed.
Well, I'm happy to hear that because my husband sometimes will text me, have you had lunch yet? And I'm like, no. But here's the thing. I wait till the kids, like I help them, in the morning, they're gone to school. I will have breakfast by myself, like a big, healthy, lovely whole foods, spinach, whatever, breakfast. Like that'll really, serve me well. And then I don't eat lunch till the kids come home at 3 p.m. And while they're having their after school snack, I'm having lunch with them. And I like that, but so that makes me feel good about that. I'm leaving that big hour break and I'm just working the whole time, which I love doing. Great. Amazing. All right, Josie, let's go to you for tip number 2.
All right. Just before I jump into my tip, I have a question. What if you want to chuck something in that wash machine because you're feeling a little bit snackish, you're a little bit hungry? What could you put it in there that won't cause that much inflammation and damage to your wash machine?
Well, the real question is, why are you feeling hungry? You've obviously not got your proteins, your fats right for your body. So it's an optional extra, but you should never be feeling hungry between your meals. So you might do it for the ritual of the family or the friend group or whatever you're doing. But the question is always look to the deeper, the root cause and go, but why am I hungry? What happened at breakfast or what happened at lunch? Did I not have my normal amount of fats that I normally have, my plant-based, whatever it is, for me to be hungry? So it's asking the additional question of what do I need to change to learn about my body.
Thank you.
I'd love to actually ask Brad to chime in here if he wants to. I know you do a lot with nutrition. And you might have, I don't know if you have the same opinion or a different opinion. I'm really happy for people to not have the same opinion. So give us some thoughts on the really the pace of eating throughout the day for you.
Yeah, look, I would agree with Shelley. I think as a culture, we have been told to eat too much. And I think we've been told that we need to eat more and more. And I think we've got to be careful from marketing, industry-driven marketing where we're told to consume more. I'm a big fan of fasting. I have a day every week where I don't eat for 22 hours, and I believe that's really important to give our digestive system a break. I think it's really important to do that. I think we should all look at some kind of fasting regime. It's a bit different between men and women. You need to look into that a little bit more from an individual basis. But look, I would agree on the whole. We eat too much, and I think it's good to eat really good meals that are right for us in terms of macro and micro, and getting adequate fats and proteins and carbs, so that we're not having to rely on snacking, which is mainly habitual. I would say it's head hunger rather than stomach hunger. So yeah, I agree with that. It does have to be taken from an individual basis. If you've got an athlete that's training 3 times a day, well, they might need to snack because they can't get the calories required in the 3 meals a day. But overall, I totally agree.
Awesome. That's so cool. So I know that we're going to go to Josie for tip number 2, and then I'm going to do a round of what's cool about you and how can people follow you. So for those of you that are watching, just any questions, bring them in. We are happy to address them either now or later. Okay, go ahead, Josie.
Okay, so basically I'm going to go back to my tip number 1, which is how to find me time while in isolation with a house full of kids. So over here I have, first of all, I have a little thing flying around here. I have adaptive. So adaptive is very great to de-stress, and you can jump in anytime you want on this, Nat, because I know you're an expert on it. But I am rolling as I talk because this is one of the things that is great to give you that little boost to be able to cope with stress. Because when you have your me time, you want to de-stress. You don't want to be stressed. Okay, we are avoiding being stressed while in isolation. And I also have here citrus blue to lift up that mood in the household, or balance, the grounding blend to find your balance. Now, while you are doing that, I also recommend, I saw that tip from a mom the other day on the internet. She had literally a sign on her door when was her me time, and was answering some of the most common questions you get from her children. It was answer like, if you need this, ask your dad. If you need food, it's in the pantry. Da 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 da. Don't interrupt mommy. That was the me time. And sometimes, in order to make time happen, you have to put that, because most of the time your children can solve their problems on their own. Now, for the moms there that have little ones and it's little children, rest when your baby rests. Don't be a super mom. When the years pass, they're not gonna care if your house was spotless, if every toy was clean and on the shelf. They're not gonna care. What they're gonna care is that they have a happy mom, and a rest mom with a happy mom.
That's awesome. So those of you that are wanting to take notes, because I find myself really tempted to take notes during this, I always go and listen back, and I will take notes. I put everything up on my website, nataliecutlerwelsh.com/video series, and you guys can watch all of the replays. So we've done a range of topics previous to this. This is actually, I can't even remember, I think it's episode number 5, but we've got supporting teens through challenging times, supporting kids through challenging times, leadership, resilience in business, staying well. Next week, I'm doing healthy home, and we're also going to do mindset and motivation. So there's such a range of topics. So just so in case you're sitting here going, how can I remember everything these beautiful guests are sharing with us? I'm going to take some notes and put some links. So don't you worry about that. We can definitely come to that. Josie, I love that you mentioned essential oils. I know that's one of the things that you offer as a service or a business along with your me time with Josie. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I feel like we have to talk about the food side of things with staying well, but the emotional side of things is so super crucial. And like you said, just you having some tools to empower us to just either shift the way that we're feeling, but first of all, of course, is to acknowledge how we're feeling and going, how do I feel, and acknowledge it and own it. We don't have to be happy 24/7. Part of staying well is realizing it's okay to be frustrated, scared, angry, and all those emotions are great, but we don't want to have them define us. So that's great. So it's such an empowering tool. So that brings me to my second tip, which is really get out of the should zone. So if you guys have heard me speak, sometimes my keynote is called Up Your Brave. And I talk a lot about how what I've noticed in my 15 years working with people all across New Zealand is that a lot of people are stuck in either the disconnected zone, the should zone, the frustration zone. And where you want to get to, in my view, is what I call the Up Your Brave zone. And what that means is not jumping off of, not bungee jumping or whatever, but what it is living your life from a place of empowered choices and intentional actions. So meaning you don't do things because you said, oh, I said I would, so I really should do this. It's like, no, not that energy of guilt. I don't believe in should, and I don't do guilt, and I also don't do perfection. So that makes it a lot easier. But I think if we're living our life from a place of empowered choices and intentional actions, we're literally doing what we want to do. And therefore, we're not living in that motherhood martyrdom that I described that I used to live in. Because when you live in that stage, it can present, especially if you're in the frustration zone, you guys, living in frustration, you literally are like, your emotions will like really affect your health. And you will end up being either bitter and resentful or sick and injured or both. So that, just being aware of how you feel, your mood and your attitude. I talk a lot about not having a crap attitude, which is a crap attitude. So you can shift your attitude. And so by focusing on what is working well, doing your gratitudes, there's lots of things you can do. So that's my tip really, is get out of the should zone as much as you, and the frustration zone. Live your life as much as you can in the Up Your Brave zone. I can help you with that if you don't know how. Okay, I'd love to finish up with a little round of what's cool about you. So I love reading. Now and then I'll read books that aren't business books, but I do read a lot of business books. I'm reading one about millionaire success habits, and he talked about asking someone, what's cool about you? So the reason this is such an interesting question is he found that when he asked people, what's cool about you? And they started talking like, oh, I did this and I know how to do that. And I've been to this place. Their confidence started rising. And when your confidence is up, you generally feel more content and happier and more fulfilled, and you're more well. So I'm going to add this to my live stream series. It's something I do with my clients as well, but it's like, what is cool about you? So guys, get ready, you guys, for answering this question. So yeah, like share with us. I'll start kick it off. So what's cool about me is that when I was little, I used to want to own a pet shop. I loved animals, and I'm a dog geek. Like, show me any dog, I can tell you what breed it is. Even if it's like a hybrid, I can tell you, oh, that's like a Japanese Spitz crossed with a pug or whatever. Not that they would cross those two, but I really am like a dog geek. So this is something you probably didn't know about me. Going to you, Brad, what is cool about you?
I think one thing that's cool about me, well, it's cool. This might be cool to some triathlon geeks out there, but when I was 23, I managed to qualify for the Hawaiian Ironman, which is the World Championships of Ironman in Hawaii. So that was a really cool time in my life where I got to do something early on in my triathlon career that I didn't think I'd probably get to do. So that's something that I'm pretty proud of, and I think is a cool thing to have done.
And do you think that is part of what led you to where you are? Because you do work with athletes and elite athletes and things like that. And also, where can people find you on social media or on your website as well, please?
Yeah, so first of all, I do think it helped get to where I am today. Along the journey, back then I was so results focused and so competitive that I think I lost sight of why I was doing it. I now run and do triathlons and swim because of the pure joy and because it makes me a better husband and father and human being. And therefore, I've really taken the pressure and anxiety out of the activity, and I'm actually doing better from a performance point of view. So it really has helped me sort of move to where I am now. Now, if people want to get in touch and connect, I'm on Facebook with Everfit Coach. I'm on Instagram, that's at Everfit Coach. I've also got a YouTube channel, Everfit, which has some videos of me talking about expansive wellness and a few exercises and yoga routines that I do after cycling and running. So you can connect with me there on YouTube. And then just through my website, which is everfit.co.nz. So I'm really keen to connect with people if you want to talk a little bit more about how to become well, and then also how to help the planet become well at the same time. I'm really keen to align those two things, so I think that's what the world needs, especially through this great pause that we're all going through at the moment.
Yeah, and I know that, Brad, you also are doing a fundraiser at the moment, or you did something to raise some money. Can you tell us about that? I'll put the link as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So the link I think is included, but I was really I felt angry and sad all at the same time when I heard that Women's Refuge was going through some really tough times through this lockdown. They had so much need for their service due to women and children being the victims of domestic violence, and it really broke my heart. So I created a 6-week lockdown fitness program that I just put on my website, and I just put it out there for people to buy. It's just $6 for a 6-week wellness program, and all the money goes to Women's Refuge. So far, I think I've raised almost just over $200 for Women's Refuge, which is, I know, not much, but it's something. And I would just encourage people not only to look at my program and buy that, but go to the Women's Refuge website, and you can buy a night, $20, and you can buy a night for someone that needs some shelter, because we need to look after our most vulnerable in these sort of times. And Women's Refuge and people like the Salvation Army, they do some great things for the most vulnerable in our society. We need to step up and make sure that we're looking after those people.
That is such a great idea. Also, I think those of us at home with kids to really share that experience with them, because we know the joy of giving can actually raise our own resilience and wellness. So, and I feel like having the kids like looking at it and going, so should we do the one night or should we do 2 nights? And including the kids in that is another great idea. So thank you. I will definitely put the link up for both of those. Shelley, we'll go to you for what's cool about you and how can we find you? How can people connect?
Brad, I have to say, I totally agree with you. Firstly, that was what broke my heart too, where I was just like, those organizations are so sad. So when I looked into it and saw that they were doing the nights and stuff, I'm totally with you. And just how easy it is for us to be able to help these. Like, we literally just have to go online, either buy your program, we get something for free, like a gift, or we just put it in our credit card and we can buy nights for these people, like these women and children. So I was blown away. But the thing about me that lots of people don't know is in my first degree, I did double majors, and one of my majors was in art history. And one of the things this side that I actually majored in was New Zealand art. So I'm really passionate about it. And so I've got a Dick Frizzle behind me that always makes me laugh because it's off the New Zealand Edmonds cooking book, Afghan recipe. I haven't eaten Afghan since my whole journey to wellness, and there would be never 2 cups of sugar or whatever, anything that I make now. But yeah, so I majored in art history, and so I absolutely love going to art auctions, going to galleries all around the world, and that's my passion.
Love it.
Cool.
I love finding out this new cool stuff. I didn't even know that about you. Okay, where can we find you online?
Oh, so my website, which is www.shelleygawith.com, and then Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and that's Shelley Gawith Functional Nutrition.
Amazing. I will put the links, of course, you guys. All right, let's go to you, Josie, for what's cool about you and how can we connect with you online?
Oh, well, I think I would say I like to have fun. I like to try new things. So last year, like Brad, you were into fitness. Last year, I tried a bikini competition. I had a friend of mine that came to me and say, it's about 4 months away. And I was like, I always wanted to look good in a bikini. Why not? Let's try this. And it was the hardest work I have ever done, working out twice a day, putting a lot of effort to transform what I was into the shape that it could be up on the stage. And I loved it. And after isolation is out, I want to try this again. And then somebody say, hey, pole dancing, have you heard about pole dancing? It's great for your core. I'm like, after giving birth to kids, I need to strengthen my core. Let's give that a try. I had bruises in places that you shouldn't have, but it was so much fun. So I like to incorporate things in my day that is out of my comfort zone, and it's fun. And I normally could say that I'm a yes person because I like to give it a go.
That is so awesome. I definitely want to try pole dancing one of these days. It sounds fun. Probably not the bikini contest so much, but definitely the pole dancing. Okay, how can we find you online, Josie?
You guys can find me on my Facebook group, which is Me Time with Josie, or my Facebook page, same name, Me Time with Josie, Instagram, same name, or in my website if you're if you're needing some help in how to find at Me Time and to structure your day, I'm your girl. So
amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, you guys, that's our time. Thank you so much to our gorgeous guests. Thanks, you guys, for joining us today.
Thank you, Nat, for having us.
It's been totally amazing. It's been totally amazing to have you guys on the show. And for those of you watching, please check out the upcoming episodes. I've got a special secret surprise guest coming in next week on Tuesday. I will keep you in the loop as to who that might be. And we'll see you next time. Until then, remember to up your brave, say what you want, and make it happen. See you guys.